Hi, this is Tammy, and welcome to Life Began in a Garden. In today's video, I'm going to be testing different areas of my soil to see, really I'm looking for some area in my yard that is acidic enough to grow blueberries, but I'm also testing the compost that I got at my sister's shop. And so this is her husband loading up some compost, and I have that same compost at my house. So I got it this year, so I'm going to be testing it to see what the levels of nutrients are and also what the pH level is on it. But in addition to that, I will also be testing my garden beds, the soil in there, and testing different areas of the yard, like where I'm going to be growing my green beans at. And I have never done this before, so I bought this test kit, and it will test the nutrient levels and the pH level. And it was about $20 on Amazon. And it does 40 tests altogether. So this is my compost bin, and it has the compost in it that I got from their shop. And so that's one of the things, like I said, that I will be testing. And right now, what you're seeing is me just going around to different areas and getting samples of the soil there, or in this case, the compost. And then I just label each one so I can remember what is what, because according to the soil test that I'm using, once you collect your samples, you're supposed to let them dry out, or at least, even if it's not completely dry, enough that you can handle it and crumble it up. So I'm just getting all the samples at one time. That's out of my garden bed. And I do the same thing in all of my beds. I have the same kind of dirt, which is a premium topsoil that I got years ago at my sister's shop, and they still sell that there. And then each year I mix in compost, and sometimes it's compost that I make myself, but I didn't have any this year made up ahead. So I just bought some from their shop. So each of my beds should be pretty much the same as far as the nutrient levels go and the pH level on them. So I just took dirt from one of the beds. And I also have blackberries growing. And this is their maybe 5th or 6th year. It's the thornless blackberries. They're called the tame blackberries. And what you see me doing now is getting some soil from the blackberry bed, because I want to see, it really doesn't matter at this point what the pH level is in that bed, because whatever it is, the blackberries like it. So not really that concerned about that, but I am concerned about how many nutrients are left in there and what I need to possibly give them that they're needing but don't have. So the three main nutrients are nitrogen and potassium and phosphate. So that's the three main things that I'm looking for with this particular dirt in the blackberry bed. And then right now my blueberries are in one of my beds, and I have tried to fix that bed to make it so that it is acidic, but I don't know if it is or not. That's where they're going to be growing at this year. And I'm hoping that by late fall I will have decided on a place actually in the ground where I can put my blueberries at. And then I've got 2 other blueberry bushes that are, I actually just started this year. And they are in just pots right now. So what I'm doing here is going through the gate on the other side. I have put up a fence in my yard that blocks off the pond. And that's because of my 2 little grandbabies. I want to feel safe when they're out there playing, safe that they are not going to be getting in that pond. So it's the pond is not really in good shape at all right now. It looks good in that picture right now, but it's filling up with muck, and it's like it looks like the dirt level is rising on it, but really it's just full of sediment that has things that have gotten in there and just settled down, and it's supposed to be about 5 foot deep, and it's nowhere near that. But right now I'm testing the water in there, and I stir it up a little bit just so that I can get that sediment that's down there in the bottom mixed into the water, because supposedly it is very high in nutrients, and that's what I used to water my garden with. And so even if it isn't even really high in nutrients, and I guess I'll find out, but if it isn't, then it still is pond water, and it's better to water the garden with than the water hose. So whenever I can, I use water from the pond to water my plants with. So a rapid test this is showing the one that I bought, and it gives very detailed directions on how to do the test. So the first thing that I'm going to do on testing the soil is the pH levels. And I'm not going to make you have to watch me do each individual soil with all 4 tests, but that is actually what I am going to do. I'm just going to show you how you do the pH one, because what you do with the pH test is different than the way that you test for the 3 nutrients. So this soil has been sitting there for overnight. It's still not quite as dried out as I would like it to be. But right now I'm showing you the containers that come in the test kit. And they're color-coded, and they're labeled for what you're testing for each one. And then with that also is these little capsules, and they are also color-coded. So the one that tests for the pH level is the green container, and the capsules that you use for that test are the green ones. And so they've made it very easy to be sure that you're using the right capsule for the right container to do whichever test it is that you're doing. And you have to be careful reading the directions, and I don't have time to read all the directions to you, and you would get bored with it anyway if I did. So I'm just going to let you watch me do the pH level, actually on 2 different ones, and then also testing the nutrient level. And that little dipper thing there, or that little tube that I just showed you, that's what you use to get the water out with to put it in the test container. Okay, so now I'm at the new fence that I put up in my yard, and I put it there to separate the yard from the pond area. And I did that because of my 2 little grandbabies. When I have them out there playing, it's really hard to keep up with both of them all the time. And I'm afraid that one's going to get away from me and get down there in that pond, and that would not be good at all. So my sons came out and put the fence up for me so that I don't have to worry about that, and it's got a gate, and I'll just keep it locked. Okay, this is doing the pH level test, and there's a little line down there on the bottom of that. You can barely see it, but I have the dirt in there almost filled up to that line. And so that's why it's a good idea to let your dirt dry out some so that you can crush it up and make it into little tiny particles that you can just drop down in there. And this is the green capsule, which color codes with the green container there, and that is testing the pH level. So you open the containers, and some of them are not very easy to open. And I'm doing this with just one hand because I've got the camera in the other hand. So it's a little hard to get that in there, but it actually did work. It all went in there. So what you need to do is look inside the capsules and make sure you got all the powder into the container. And you're just putting it in on that left side there. And in this bowl is just filtered drinking water, bottled water. And the directions do say to use bottled water, not water from your faucet. So make sure that if you decide to do this test, that you do use bottled water there. And then using that little dropper thing, you squeeze up water into it and keep filling up that side, putting it on top of the powder until you get up to the line. There's another little dotted line that goes across the top of that channel there. And you just keep putting water in there until you get it up to that line. Okay, I think it's there right now. And then put the cap on the container and make sure you've got it mashed down on there good. And it's really a wonder that I didn't knock this over and spill it while I was trying to do it with just one hand. So I don't recommend doing it that way. But once you've got the lid on it, then shake the container good. And do make sure you've got it shaken up really good. And then you just sit it down for 1 minute and watch it change colors. And this one's kind of fun to watch because it does happen in 1 minute. And if you look up there at the top, you can already see that the color is changing, and that is partially the soil settling back down to the bottom. But as it does that, it's leaving behind the color that indicates whether your soil is acidic or alkaline or neutral. And you can tell there by that, and we're not quite through the 1 minute yet, but you can tell that it looks like it's going to be on the acid side. So the one there in the middle, the pH of 6.0. And that does tell me that there is some acidic soil in the clay. And I didn't read anything on the container about those bubbles up there at the top, but I think that is also another indicator that it is acidic soil. Okay, so again, this clay came from where the green beans are going to be growing, but they're okay with that too. Green beans are not really very picky, and they like the clay because the clay retains water, and that is one thing that they are picky about, is really have to have that water. And I'm showing you there what the level is on that one. And that's all of the tests that we're going to do on the pH, because I think you've got that one. And now for this container, we're testing the clay again, but it's to test the nutrient levels. And so in that jar, I put 2 of those teaspoons full of the soil, the clay. And then now I'm putting in 10 teaspoons full of water. And the reason for that is because say that you use 1 part soil to 5 parts water. And so since I used 2 teaspoons of soil, I'm using 10 teaspoons of water to have the 1-to-5 ratio. So once you get all that water that needs to be in there in, then you put the lid on the jar and shake it really good and let it sit overnight. You have to let it sit at least 30 minutes, but most soil will take overnight to settle down enough so that the soil and the water have separated again. Okay, so this is the pH that I'm testing on the compost at my sister's husband's landscape business. So you open up the capsule, and you have to twist it. You hold on to both ends and twist it, and it does open up, but some are a little bit harder than others. And again, you just put them both, empty out both sides of the capsule into that container. And then once you've got them emptied out, then you put the water in until you get up to the fill line that it shows on the container. Okay, so then you put the lid on it, and like we did in the first one, you shake it up again and set it and let it sit for 1 minute. You do need to time that and make sure you do exactly 1 minute. And this will show on this one that the pH level is neutral to alkaline. So then it's a good idea to record what you get, what your results are. And this is the Gardener's Journal that I did in several videos back. I did it in a 3-part video of showing you how to make that Gardener's Journal. And so I've been trying to use it and trying to stay as up to date as I can with it. And right now I'm flipping through it to get to the part that I put in there about compost. Because like I said, lots of times I make my own compost, and there's a list of materials that you can use for making your own compost, and I have information about that in there. There's a little pamphlet there that I'm fixing to pull out, and it tells you on one side of it things that you can use to make your own compost. But then on the other side of that little pamphlet, it's just lines. So on the side that has the lines, I'm going to record the results of this test of the compost. If you decide to do this test, whether you record it or not, of course, is up to you. I'm just trying to record as much as I can because I have a horrible time remembering things, especially when it comes to numbers and names. And so I'll get that confused, and I'll think that one thing had a certain level and maybe it was something else. And anyway, just to save myself some trouble later, I decided to just write down everything I can, which is why I made that Gardener's Journal to begin with, so I don't have to rely on my memory. Okay, so I have that written down, and I'm just going to put that away. And what I want to show you next is how that you do the other 3 tests. I told you that they were different. And in this one for the pH, you actually put the soil in the bottom of it, and then the capsule, or the contents of the capsule, and then the water. But now for these other three tests, you're only using the water that is at the top of the soil that you mixed up and let it sit. Remember, I told you I left mine overnight, so this is how it looks the next day. And you can see that it still is very cloudy water, so it's not clear at all, and sometimes that cloudiness interferes with being able to determine exactly what color you're looking at when you do the test. So that is probably my biggest complaint with this testing, is that some of these make it really hard to tell what the color is once it's completed. Anyway, you do each of the next three the same way. You're not putting any soil in there at all. You're letting it stay down there in the bottom of that jar that you mixed it up in, and you're only collecting water from the top of that water level, so that you're not disturbing that soil down there at the bottom. And then once you've got your water in there and you've filled it up to the fill line, you open your capsule that corresponds with the one that you're doing and put the powder in there and shake it up really good, like I'm doing there. And on that blue one that I'm shaking up right now, that one says that for that particular one, you have to possibly shake it again during the 10 minutes that it's sitting there. If that powder, it turns blue in the water, and if that powder starts settling down at the bottom, which you can see that it is doing that there. And so if it starts settling down there, then you're supposed to shake it again to get it incorporated back in with the water. And on my test, I actually had to do that 2 times during that 10-minute period. I shook it back up again. But the other 2, you don't shake. Even if the powder does settle to the bottom, or if the powder settles up there on the top, either way, you don't shake them. You just leave them setting and read the results after 10 minutes. And again, you do need to do a timer on this one as well. And at the very end of this video, you'll see these 3 results sitting there. I've got them stacked up side by side so that you can see what the end result was on it and how it changed or didn't change. And the biggest one that I had a problem with was the potassium one. I couldn't see much of a difference at all on it in either of the tests that I did using it, because the water color affected the color that it showed me. Anyway, shake it up like this, let it sit for 10 minutes, and then see what your results are. Okay, this is showing the results again on the pH test, showing you that it is neutral, is what it's reading on that one. And then this is the results of the other 3 tests that I did, and how they look and how you compared them with the color beside them. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope that you have a very blessed day, you and your family. Thank you for watching. Okay, I don't know which one it is that I'm testing there, but it's showing that is another pH, and it's showing that it's neutral. So you're just matching your color as close as you can to the color swatch that it has there. And if your water is still cloudy from like that water setting there is, then it's not going to be a perfect match, but it'll be close. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope it's helped you. If you considered doing a test on your own soil, this kind of gives you the information that I learned from mine. I hope you have a great day, and may God bless you and your family.